The unexpected arrival. The observation deck of Stellar Confederation Station Harmony buzzed with nervous energy as Ambassador Zara Kelson adjusted her ceremonial robes for the third time in 10 minutes. Her crystalline skin shimmered with anticipation, casting rainbow patterns across the polished metal walls. Around her, representatives from 15 different worlds gathered in their finest diplomatic attire, each species bringing their own interpretation of formal wear to this historic moment. "First contact with Earth," whispered Commander Thex, his insectoid features twitching with excitement. 300 years since we last welcomed a new species to the Confederation. Zara nodded, her attention focused on the massive viewing portal that dominated the chamber. Beyond the transparent aluminum, stars twinkled peacefully in the void, but somewhere among them, humanity's first diplomatic vessel was approaching. The Confederation's invitation had been sent 18 months ago, following the same protocols used for centuries. A simple message of welcome, translated into mathematical concepts that any spacefaring civilization could understand, along with coordinates for this neutral meeting point. Ambassador Kelson called Technical Officer Bren from his position at the sensor array. The amphibious being's webbed fingers danced across holographic controls with practiced ease. "I'm detecting an incoming vessel at the edge of our sensor range. Estimated arrival in 30 minutes. "Excellent," Zara replied, smoothing her robes once more. "Alert all department heads. Standard first contact protocols are now in effect." She turned to address the assembled diplomats. "Remember, friends, we represent the peaceful nature of our Confederation. These humans will be nervous, possibly frightened. We must show them that the galaxy is filled with civilized, peaceful species who welcome them with open arms." The various aliens nodded their agreement, from the tall, graceful Etherians with their flowing tentacles to the stocky, rock-like granite folk. Each species had joined the Confederation through the same gentle process, arriving in small science vessels or diplomatic shuttles, their best scholars and ambassadors eager to learn about galactic civilization. "Ma'am," Bren's voice carried a note of confusion. "I'm getting some unusual readings from the approaching vessel." "Unusual how?" Zar asked, moving to peer over his shoulder at the sensor displays. "Well, it's significantly larger than typical first contact vessels. The mass readings suggest substantial construction." Bren's throat sac inflated nervously, "and I'm detecting multiple energy signatures that don't match standard propulsion or life support systems." Before Zara could respond, the main viewing screen flickered to life, showing a magnified image of the approaching human ship. The collective gasp that rose from the assembled diplomats echoed through the chamber like a shockwave. The vessel that filled their screen was nothing like the peaceful exploration ships they had expected. Angular and aggressive, the ship stretched nearly 2 kilometers from bow to stern, its dark hull bristling with what could only be weapon emplacements. Massive thruster arrays glowed with barely contained energy, and every surface seemed designed for one purpose: war. "By the ancient codes," breathed Ambassador Vel of the Peaceful Union, his scaled hands trembling. "That's not a diplomatic vessel. That's a dreadnought." Commander Thex's antenna drooped in dismay. Perhaps there's been some mistake. Surely they wouldn't send a warship to a peace conference. Zara struggled to maintain her composure as she stared at the approaching vessel. In 3 centuries of first contact protocols, nothing like this had ever happened. Species typically sent their most peaceful representatives, eager to demonstrate their civilized nature and desire for harmony. "Ambassador," Bren announced, his voice barely steady, "they're hailing us." "Put them through," Zara managed, though her voice cracked slightly. The screen shifted to show the bridge of the human vessel, and once again, the alien diplomats found themselves confronting the unexpected. The human who appeared before them was clearly military, her uniform bearing insignia of rank and command. Captain Sarah Chen sat in the central chair of what was obviously a warship's bridge, her dark eyes surveying the assembled aliens with the calculating gaze of a professional soldier. "Stellar Confederation Station Harmony," Captain Chen said, her voice carrying the crisp authority of military command. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth ship Defiance. We received your invitation." Zara found her diplomatic training and managed to speak. "Captain Chen, I am Ambassador Zara Kelson of the Stellar Confederation. We were expecting diplomatic representatives." Captain Chen's expression didn't change. "You got them. I am Earth's diplomatic representative for this sector." "But your ship appears to be a military vessel," Commander Thex interjected, his insectoid features displaying obvious distress. "It is," Chen replied matter-of-factly. "The Defiance is a sovereign-class heavy cruiser, currently serving in a diplomatic capacity." The silence that followed was deafening. Finally, Zara managed to speak again. "Captain, our standard first contact protocols assume the arrival of peaceful exploration vessels, or diplomatic shuttles. Your ship appears to be designed for conflict." For the first time, something like amusement flickered across Captain Chen's features. "Ambassador Kelson, I think there's been a fundamental misunderstanding about how Earth approaches diplomacy." "Please explain," Zara said, though she wasn't entirely sure she wanted to hear the answer. "Earth learned long ago that diplomacy without the backing of strength is just wishful thinking," Chen replied. "The Defiance isn't here to threaten anyone. She's here to ensure that any agreements we make are taken seriously by all parties involved." Behind Chen, other humans moved about the bridge with military precision. Even in the brief glimpses the aliens caught, it was clear that these were not scholars or cultural attaches. These were warriors, every one of them trained for combat and ready for action. "Captain," Zara tried again, "surely Earth has civilian diplomatic courts who could handle these negotiations." "We do," Chen confirmed. "They're aboard the Defiance. My diplomatic team consists of some of Earth's finest minds in xenobiology, cultural analysis, trade negotiations, and conflict resolution. The difference is that they all understand that successful diplomacy sometimes requires the credible threat of force." Ambassador Vel leaned forward, his scaled features creased with worry. "Are you saying that Earth approaches all diplomatic contacts with military force?" "I'm saying that Earth approaches all diplomatic contacts prepared for any eventuality," Chen corrected. "We hope for friendship, plan for trade, but prepare for conflict if necessary. History has taught us that species who show weakness during first contact often regret it later." The implications of her words sent a chill through the assembled aliens. This was completely contrary to everything the Confederation stood for, everything they had built their civilization upon. "Captain Chen," Zara said carefully, "the Stellar Confederation has maintained peace for over 800 years through diplomatic cooperation and mutual understanding. We have never found it necessary to threaten force during first contact situations." "That's interesting," Chen replied, and there was something in her tone that made several aliens step back from their viewing screens. "How has that worked out when you've encountered species that don't share your peaceful philosophy?" The question hit like a physical blow. The truth was that the Confederation had been extraordinarily fortunate in their expansion, encountering primarily peaceful species who shared their values. The few aggressive cultures they had met had either been avoided or contained through economic and political pressure. "We have been blessed with peaceful neighbors," Zara admitted. "Lucky you," Chen said. "Earth hasn't been so fortunate. We've learned that the galaxy can be a dangerous place, and the species that survive are the ones that prepare for that danger." "Surely you don't expect us to negotiate under threat," Commander Thex protested. Captain Chen leaned forward in her chair, and her expression became deadly serious. "Commander, I want to be absolutely clear about something. The Defiance is not here to threaten you. She's here to ensure that whatever agreements we reach are honored by everyone involved, including parties who might not be at this table." "What do you mean?" Zara asked. "I mean that in our experience, peaceful negotiations work best when everyone knows that there are consequences for breaking agreements," Chen replied. "The Defiance represents those consequences. This is highly irregular," Ambassador Vel muttered. "This is human," Chen corrected. We don't separate our military from our diplomacy because we've learned that they work better together. My crew includes linguists, cultural specialists, trade negotiators, and yes, tactical officers. Each brings something essential to the table. As if to emphasize her point, a human officer approached Chen's chair and whispered something in her ear. Chen nodded and turned back to the aliens. My intelligence officer informs me that you have defensive platforms around this station, she said conversationally. Standard defensive arrays, nothing too impressive, but adequate for dealing with pirates or raiders. The casual way she assessed their defenses sent another chill through the diplomatic chamber. This human had sized up their military capabilities within minutes of arrival. Those are purely defensive, Zora protested. Of course they are, Chen agreed. Just like the Defiance is purely diplomatic. The difference is that our definition of diplomacy includes being prepared for people who don't want to talk. The screen showed movement on the human bridge as more officers reported to their captain. Even in these brief glimpses, the aliens could see the efficiency and coordination of a well-trained military unit. Captain Chen, Zora said, making one final attempt at traditional diplomacy. Perhaps we could begin with cultural exchanges, learning about each other's societies and values. Absolutely, Chen replied with what might have been enthusiasm. I think you'll find human culture quite interesting. My crew would be happy to demonstrate human coordination exercises, strategic thinking games, and team-building activities. Commander Thex's antenna perked up slightly. That sounds more traditionally diplomatic. Oh, it is, Chen assured him. These activities are fundamental to human culture. They teach cooperation, trust, and mutual support under pressure. What the aliens didn't realize was that Captain Chen's idea of cultural exchange involved combat drills, tactical simulations, and military training exercises. To humans, these were indeed fundamental cultural activities, teaching the values of teamwork, sacrifice, and determination that had carried humanity to the stars. We would be honored to observe human cultural demonstrations, Zara said, feeling like she was finally getting somewhere. Excellent, Chen replied. My team will prepare a full presentation. Fair warning, though, human culture can be quite intense. We believe in commitment, preparation, and the willingness to do whatever is necessary to protect what matters. As the transmission ended temporarily, the aliens found themselves staring at a blank screen, each lost in their own thoughts. They had expected to welcome peaceful explorers to their galactic community. Instead, they had encountered something they had never imagined. A species that viewed diplomacy and warfare as two sides of the same coin. What have we gotten ourselves into? Whispered Ambassador Vel. Zara stared out at the massive human warship growing larger in their viewport and wondered the same thing. The age of gentle diplomacy in this sector of the galaxy was about to face its greatest test. When diplomacy meets reality. The cultural exchange chamber aboard Station Harmony had been hastily reconfigured to accommodate the human delegation. What was normally a peaceful meeting space with soft lighting and comfortable seating now buzzed with nervous energy as alien diplomats tried to prepare for whatever cultural demonstration the humans had planned. Ambassador Zara Kelson checked the atmospheric controls for the 5th time, ensuring that the environment would be suitable for human physiology. Around her, representatives from 15 worlds clustered together, their various forms of anxiety evident in drooping antennae, twitching tentacles, and nervous color changes. Remember, Zara addressed the group, we are here to learn about human culture and establish peaceful relations. Whatever we see, we must respond with diplomatic courtesy. The airlock hissed open, and Captain Sarah Chen entered with 5 members of her crew. Unlike the formal military uniforms they had worn during initial contact, the humans now wore what appeared to be training gear, flexible, practical clothing that allowed for freedom of movement. Ambassador Kelson, Chen said with a nod, thank you for accommodating our demonstration. My team is excited to share some fundamental aspects of human culture with you. Behind Chen came Lieutenant Commander Marcus Webb, a tall man whose movements suggested years of combat training. Dr. Elena Vasquez followed, her medical training evident in how she assessed the room's safety features. Chief Engineer Tom Bradley carried what appeared to be portable equipment, while Communications Specialist Lisa Park moved with the fluid grace of someone equally comfortable in a laboratory or on a battlefield. "Captain," Zora began, "we are eager to learn about human artistic and cultural traditions." "Excellent," Chen replied. "What we're going to show you today is one of our most cherished cultural activities. It teaches cooperation, trust, and the importance of working together under pressure." The humans began setting up their equipment with military efficiency. What they assembled made several alien delegates step backward. It appeared to be a tactical training course, complete with obstacles, communication devices, and what looked suspiciously like simulated weapons. "This," Chen announced, "is how humans learn to work together. We call it teamwork under pressure, and it's fundamental to our society." Commander Thex's antenna twitched nervously. "It looks like military training." "It is," Chen confirmed cheerfully. Human culture developed the understanding that the activities which best reveal character and build trust are those that involve genuine challenge and risk. This exercise tests our ability to coordinate, communicate, and support each other when the stakes are real. Dr. Vasquez stepped forward. "In human culture, we believe that you only truly know someone when you've faced adversity together. These exercises create artificial adversity so we can build genuine trust." "Artificial adversity?" asked Ambassador Vell, his scales shifting to a nervous blue color. "Controlled danger," Lieutenant Commander Webb explained. "Situations that require quick thinking, perfect coordination, and absolute trust in your teammates. When you know someone will risk their own safety to protect yours, that's when real relationships form." The aliens watched in fascination and growing alarm as the humans began their demonstration. What followed was unlike anything they had ever witnessed in a cultural exchange. The 5 humans moved through their course with perfect synchronization. When Chen called out "Contact Front," the entire team responded instantly. Webb and Park flanked left and right while Bradley provided overwatch, and Dr. Vasquez established a casualty collection point. Their movements were so fluid and coordinated that they seemed to share a single mind. "Friendly down," Chen announced, and the scenario shifted immediately. Dr. Vasquez rushed to Bradley, who had simulated an injury, while the others formed a protective perimeter around them. Their communication was minimal but perfect, conveyed through hand signals and position changes that spoke of thousands of hours of training together. "This is beautiful," whispered one of the Etherian delegates, their tentacles swaying with apparent appreciation. "The coordination, the trust, the way they move as one unit." "This is terrifying," muttered Commander Thex. "They're demonstrating warfare as an art form." As the exercise continued, the humans showed various scenarios: rescue operations, defensive positions, coordinated advances, and emergency medical procedures. Each transition was seamless, each team member knowing exactly what was expected of them without verbal communication. "Objective secured," Chen announced, and all 5 humans snapped to attention. The alien audience sat in stunned silence. They had just witnessed something that was simultaneously the most impressive display of coordination they had ever seen and the most militaristic cultural demonstration imaginable. "Questions?" Chen asked brightly, apparently unaware of the shock she had caused. "That was intense," Zara managed. "That was basic level," Dr. Vasquez replied. "Wait until you see what we do for advanced teamwork exercises." Before anyone could respond to that alarming statement, Station Harmony's emergency alarms began blaring. Red warning lights bathed the chamber in an ominous glow as automated systems announced the crisis in multiple languages. "All stations, emergency alert. Unknown hostile vessels approaching." "This is not a drill." The alien delegates immediately began to panic. Some rushed for the exits, others froze in terror, and a few began rapid communications with their homeworlds. The peaceful Confederation had protocols for such situations, but they hadn't been tested in over 2 centuries. Captain Chen, however, remained perfectly calm. "How many ships?" she asked Zora. I don't know," Zara stammered, her crystalline skin flickering with stress patterns. "The station's defenses are minimal. We've never needed." "Webb, get to the Defiance and prep for combat operations," Chen ordered. "Park, establish direct communication with their command center. Bradley, I need a technical assessment of this station's defensive capabilities. Vasquez, prepare for potential casualties." The humans moved with instant precision, transforming from cultural demonstrators to a military unit in seconds. Their earlier exercise suddenly made perfect sense. They had been showing the aliens exactly the kind of coordination that was now saving lives. "Captain," Lieutenant Commander Webb reported from his communicator. "Sensors show 12 pirate vessels, Marauder-class raiders. They're using the same tactics that hit the Proxima station last month." "Understood," Chen replied. She turned to Zora. "Ambassador, I need to know, do you want our help?" Zara stared at her. In the space of 10 minutes, these humans had gone from conducting what seemed like a peaceful cultural exchange to organizing a military response to a crisis that had paralyzed her own people. "Yes," she whispered, then louder. "Yes, please help us." Chen activated her communicator. "Defiance, this is the captain. We have 12 Marauder-class raiders approaching Station Harmony. Confederation forces are minimal. Authorization Omega-7. Take them out." What followed was a masterclass in human military efficiency. Through the station's external viewers, the aliens watched as the massive human warship engaged the pirate fleet with devastating effectiveness. The Defiance moved like a predator among prey, its weapon systems targeting multiple enemies simultaneously while its armor shrugged off return fire. "How are they hitting so many targets at once?" asked Technical Officer Bren, his amphibious features wide with amazement. "Distributed targeting systems," Chief Bradley explained, monitoring the battle from the station's command center. "The Defiance can engage up to 30 separate targets simultaneously while maintaining defensive patterns." The pirate fleet, which had terrorized this sector for months, was systematically destroyed in less than 15 minutes. Not one raider escaped, and the human ship sustained no visible damage. As the last pirate vessel exploded in a brief flash of light, Captain Chen turned to the assembled alien diplomats. "That's why Earth sends warships to diplomatic meetings," she said simply. "Because sometimes diplomacy has to be backed up by action." The silence that followed was different from the shocked quiet after their cultural demonstration. This was the silence of understanding, of a fundamental shift in perspective. "You saved us," Ambassador Vell said, his scales now showing colors of deep respect. "We protected our potential allies," Chen corrected. "That's what the Confederation is, isn't it? Species working together for mutual benefit and protection." "Yes," Zara said slowly, "but we've always believed that could be accomplished through peaceful means alone." "And maybe it could, in a perfect universe," Dr. Vasquez replied. "But this universe has pirates, raiders, and species that see peaceful civilizations as prey. Someone has to be willing to stand between the wolves and the sheep." Commander Fex stepped forward, his insectoid features showing what might have been newfound respect. "Captain Chen, I owe you an apology. When you arrived, I thought Earth was bringing warfare to our peaceful community. And now?" Chen asked. "Now I understand that Earth is bringing protection to our peaceful community," Fex replied. "There's a difference." Over the following hours, as the immediate crisis passed, the alien diplomats began to see the humans in an entirely different light. These weren't warmongers who happened to practice diplomacy. They were protectors who understood that true peace could only exist when good people were willing and able to fight for it. "Captain," Zara said as the formal negotiations began, "I think the Confederation has a great deal to learn from Earth. And Earth has much to learn from the Confederation," Chen replied. "The difference is that we'll both be alive to do that learning." As news of the human intervention spread throughout the sector, something unprecedented happened. Species that had never before requested Confederation protection began sending messages to Station Harmony, asking if Earth would be willing to extend their diplomatic presence to other areas. It seems, Zara observed to Captain Chen as they watched message after message arrive, that your approach to diplomacy is rather popular. Chen smiled. Funny how quickly attitudes change when people realize that being peaceful doesn't mean being helpless. The integration of Earth into the Stellar Confederation marked the beginning of a new era. For the first time in 800 years, the galaxy's peaceful species had allies who were both willing and able to fight for the values they all shared. And in the depths of space, other predatory species began to receive a simple message: the age of easy prey was over. The sheep had found their shepherds, and the shepherds had very sharp teeth.